with me on the Northern Line as a wheelchair user. So first of all, you've got to get into the station, follow these signs to get in the lift, and then you need to find the place on the platform to get on where it's going to be level, because it's not all level. Bunny hop on and then be in the wheelchair section. Only a third of all tube stations are wheelchair accessible, and there's not that many on the Northern Line that are. And if you don't get on the right place in the platform, then there's a big step, so you can't get on. Anyway, then you arrive at your location, you need to follow the lift maze to get out, and then leave via the lift. So that's how I do the Northern Line as a wheelchair user.
I'ma grow up and be an astronaut. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Alright, let's go. Excuse me, you know that's a disabled spot, right? Yep, I'm aware. Well, what are you doing parking there then? What's your disability? It's none of your business. Well, you're clearly not disabled then, are you? Why do you think that then? Well, look at you, there's nothing wrong with you, is there?
Autism isn't a disability, it's a different ability. No. Let's get one thing straight. Autism is a disability. There is nothing wrong with being disabled. A disability is anything that limits or makes life activities more difficult. Autism is disabling in so many ways, such as sensory issues, communication and social difficulties, executive dysfunction, meltdowns and shutdowns, and more. Because of this, autistic people need accommodations and support. So if you don't recognize it as a disability, it will prevent people from getting the help they need. Saying that autism isn't a disability contributes to ableism and adds to stigma. Is autism a different ability? Sure, but it does not negate the fact that it's disabling.
Hello, my name is Betty and we're gonna do...
How accessible is your festival?
Summer edition. So the car park is as close as I think realistically you would get.
Yeah.
There's
like no space for a car park.
I mean, we're in a field, so... But yeah, like a 2-minute walk. Also, so Ruth is listed as my personal assistant, and the women at the desk were lovely.
So helpful.
So helpful. 10 out of 10.
Easy.
The distances between stages, not far at all.
Yeah, nice short walk.
Nice short walk. Also, ostrich. I just went to the toilet and they've got a very clever system. I say clever, it's really, it's not that
Very
clever.
top notch.
They give you a code, and when you go to the toilets, you put the code into this padlock so you can use the disabled portaloo and no one else can use it, and you skip all the queue.
It's nice and spacious.
Spacious and quite clean, so yeah.
And as your personal assistant, I get access as well.
Yes, she does, as my PA. I also get very close to the stages, and it's
nice and flat.
It's nice and flat, so there's a good view. I mean, obviously there is walking, you can't avoid the walking, but even if you would need to take a break to sit down, you can still see. We've now got glitter! Out of 10, Ruth, what would you give it? I'd give it an 8.
An 8, yeah. Apart from the walk, which you can't really avoid. It's great.
So, an 8 out of 10?
Yeah.
Am I the problem?
Of course you are!
Hey, so I'm a disabled university student, and so today I wanted to talk about disability accommodations and the place that they hold within disability justice and within the fight for the inclusion of disabled people in all areas of life. I think one of the most important things to understand regarding disability accommodations and regarding the state of disability services within the higher education sphere is that universities, higher education, and as well as primary education have historically been extremely hostile to disabled people. Those are spaces we have historically been kept out of for ages, and disability accommodations is still a subject and a type of policy that is rather recent, and so that has directly impacted the fact that there is a huge lack of disabled people in academia and in university administrations, which I believe to be a big reason behind the often lacking lacking disability service administration as well. There's, at least in my university, a severe understaffing of disability services administration, and that in itself kind of breeds a culture of ableism. I know from my own experience and from other people's experiences that going to disability service within your own university can often be a space where you're going to be facing ableism, where the burden is going to be put on you to convince them that you need these accommodations, not even that you need them, but that you deserve them. And that's terrible, and it just further breeds an environment of hostility and of not being welcomed in this space. The burden for spreading information about disability accommodations is put on disabled students themselves. At least in my experience, it's from the disabled community at my university that I have been able to understand the process of disability accommodations, that I've been able to navigate it, to actually know what accommodations would be available to me. And that's terrible. I mean, it's great that we can find support in our communities, but we should be able to find it within administration itself. We should be able to be supported properly. And there's also a huge lack of training of professors regarding disability and disability accommodations. And all those things are just so sad, because accommodations are crucial to our success and to our equal access to opportunities. I've had to repeat a year because of my disability, and I wouldn't have if accommodations were proper.
I think it's sad that people can only see the most basic things when in reality living with a disability is so much deeper. I'm not gonna lie, for about the first year I thought this too, but emotions change over time, and eventually I learned that this was my situation and I had to live with the consequences of my desperate decisions. 2 years later, I live my days happy without thinking how I have no legs. I hope that this can change your view and deter you from only seeing the outside visual.
Disability is not a bad word. In fact, I believe it accurately captures and describes the lived experience of folks with disabilities. And terms like handicapped, differently abled, or special needs are considered outdated, because wanting access to education, buildings, or washrooms aren't special. They're basic human rights. So don't be afraid to use the word disabled or disability, because...
So even as I begin to make this video, you're probably thinking, why is she whispering? Has she lost her voice? Is she sick? Has she been to a concert last night? But I get this question so much, but the answer is no, like none of the above. I have this phone here, which is basically like a hoarse voice. This isn't anything short term, but long term. I've had it all my life, and one thing I realized living with a voice condition is that not many people know what it is at all. There's not much information out there about voice disorders, what can go wrong, even just generic understanding of how the voice works. Not many people know what that is like. So I guess having lived with it all my life, there's this gap between knowing what a voice disorder is and not knowing what a voice disorder is, and I feel like that needs to close and actually become smaller. And I will begin sharing videos about dysphonia, what it's like living with a voice condition, and growing up with it, and what life was like and what life is like now. I have a pretty good life, thank God. But yeah, I will share some videos about dysphonia. I really just educate people because people need to know.